Hello everyone, welcome to General Orlando 327 plays Final Fantasy XIII, episode 20. Again, this is the third time I've shot this episode because my capture software keeps killing my microphone. Oh joy. So last time we made it to the point where the party all finally comes together. We have a full party, which means we can actually toy with our configuration a little bit. We still don't have control over the party leader. We're stuck with Lightning for the time being. But that's okay. It's not a huge deal. She just is starting to get to the point where she's relatively squishy. She has the second lowest HP on the squad right now. And part of that is because I have a bangle equipped on Vanille. But even without the bangle, it's only about a 5-point difference between their HPs. So just to show you what I have set up, because I did do some grinding off camera here in this area to get to the point where one more pass through showing you everything will finish our Crystarium tier. So I'm not over leveling, I'm just finishing off the tier as we do this episode. So one thing that I did was switch the weapon for Lightning. I had it on the Lifesaber for the last boss just in case we needed her to raise somebody. Now I've got it set up for Axis Blade like we did previously, and her equipment, her accessories are exactly the same. Fang is set up now with the Magician's Mark to improve her Saboteur abilities and the Brawler's Wristband that she already had. And Vanille is set up with Shaman's Mark and Tungsten Bangle just like she already had. So that's going to be the team that we have going forward. Let me show you the paradigms here. The only ones that are really new at this point are Assassination and Ruthless, which we didn't really have access to before in either of our parties. So basically they just revolve around Saboteurs and then Lightning doing the chain gauge raising, and then Fang either playing the additional Saboteur role for her debuffs or the Commando role to try to eliminate things quickly. Make use of the offensive debuffs that Neil has. So most of these top set of battles we can start out in Ruthless, and then the ones down further at the bottom of the area you're going to want to use Solidarity. And without any variation, the targets you're always going to want to take out first if they exist are the Destroyers, because they have bazookas, and bazookas, explosions, bad. Other than that, these top sets of, well actually not even other than that, even considering that, these top sets of battles are pretty simple. Another nice thing about targeting the Destroyers first in any battles with the Infiltrators is that with the Saboteur in your party, the Infiltrators will spend a lot of time casting Asuna and Kira, like they are, now-ish, instead of actually attacking your party, because for whatever reason they're programmed to try to keep each other alive more than they are to attack the party, which is kind of counterintuitive to me, but, that's because that's my playstyle in the first place. Goes back to that whole idea of card advantage, that if you're wasting turns doing things that don't give you an advantage, then you're slowly losing. We can stay set up for the oh yeah, there's no battle over here. I was gonna say we can be set up in the same paradigm for the battle over here, but there's just a liver scope and a spear over here. So I left these corner, if we take a look at the map, I accidentally did the one on the opposite side from where we are now, but the other ones I left the end terminals off so that you can see, in case you're not familiar with the game, and that way you can see all you have to do is press the activate thing, and there's no order you have to do it in. There's no ones that only operate from one side. You can do it from whatever direction. The tops and the bottoms of everything have the terminals. I don't know why there's one up here, to tell the truth, because there's no way that you can get to here without going from the bottom, but I don't know. I guess maybe if they turn it off from the bottom and you're stuck up here, it just seems like crazy ship design to me. But you're going to want to make sure to do each of the end terminal paths in the corners, because although you could just go straight down the middle and continue on with the with the storyline, the sides are the only places, other than the very bottom when you get to the save point right before the next area. All of the treasure spheres are on the edges and not in the middle path at all. Oops, I did this wrong. We want to take out the destroyer first. Hello, brain. That's probably going to cause problems because you don't want to take too much time. But means I'm going to have to change the diversity a little bit sooner than I'd like. This battle is one of the battles that if you're not confident in your skills and your ability to then you probably want to set up in solidarity, because otherwise that happens.
No.
And that stupid whole if your party leader dies, it's game over thing. Yeah. That's because I didn't target the destroyer first. Usually you can take out the destroyer if you switch over to target it right away before you have to actually switch over to diversity. And then you'll probably sit in diversity through at least the first dragoon, if not the second. So let's do this right this time. But like I say, if you are not paying attention to what's going on, or you're distracted by something, like I was distracted by talking to you guys, then you definitely want to set up in solidarity, because otherwise people are probably going to die. And in this case, I don't care if Fang dies. I'm still going to switch over to diversity and maybe heal her before they actually kill her. Nah, she's gonna die. Oh no, it decided to change targets. Cool. To take out the last one or 1.5, depending on where you're at. Otherwise, with solidarity, you're going to sit there a while Commando Lightning takes out everything. The Dragoons aren't too hard for her to solo, with Fang acting as a sentinel and then Vanille just sitting there healing, but it's still a nuisance. And in this case, you don't have any major threats that can, wipe out your party normally, unless you're not paying attention, or you just don't move at the right time. But with paradigms. So if anybody's curious, it took me about an hour of grinding to get to the point where we were when we started this episode, where one full pass around every enemy in the area would finish off our Crystarium. And that's going to be pretty close to accurate. I don't think I want to do this paradigm. No, I really don't want to do this paradigm. Well, I may regret this, but we'll find out. Take out the destroyer first, and then we'll see how it goes. Probably wanted to be in solidarity for this fight. Yeah, I definitely want to be in solidarity for this fight. Alright, so let's go to diversity for a second, because I don't want to shift to Fang having a sentinel roll while she's critical health. Then we'll jump over to solidarity and do it the way I should have done it. So it took me about an hour, and that's where it'll be. It's going to typically be about that number of passes. It'll be 2 full passes, and then if you do two full passes, you're going to back up at the top where you started. 1 pass will take you to the bottom if you kill every enemy going top to bottom in each path, and then from the bottom you'll end up back at the top doing the same thing. See how much easier it is with this setup? Like, yeah, you could be more aggressive, but this basically guarantees you're not going to have any major difficulties. If you want to try being more aggressive, go for it. I just find that this is the least likely to cause me to want to rip out my hair. So, And then once you get to the end, you're not going to be able to stick debuffs on this thing very successfully while it's not staggered. So you're better off just using Relentless Assault. That's why this paradigm is still in here. I played with a lot of different methods to go through this area when I was writing my guide for it. And this was the best team I could find and the best setup to, I wanted assassination there, so that we can get all the debuffs to stick on it. There we go. And we can switch back to, actually, if she lands that, then we'll go to aggression. You don't really need poison on it, because it's going to be staggered when you apply your debuffs anyway, so you're going to kill it by going to aggression, or even ruthless. If you want to go to ruthless and let her keep trying to cast poison, you can, but it's not really necessary. I will note again that my strategies are not designed for 5-star victories. They're designed for me not wanting to throw my controller across the room. The way I put it in my guide is that they're set up so that I don't want to, smash my controller and shout profanities at the developers. Those are my two criteria for a good strategy. Alright, and this is a chest you definitely want to pick up. Actually, both of the top and bottom ones here are chests that you're going to want. This one gave you the gold mangle, which you should immediately just throw on Vanille to give her an extra 100 HP, and the magic wall synthesis ability because of the shaman's mark that she has on. The one at the top was a pain dampener, which adds resistance to pain, which we will use in some strategies later. This time I want to set this up right. I definitely want to be in solidarity for this fight. This fight is about the only one that you're really going to have a challenge of keeping Fang alive, potentially, while you're in solidarity. Just because it takes a very long time for Fang to stick provoke sometimes. So she's going to be taking a lot of damage. Only because Provoke is a wide area ability that is not necessarily efficient at provoking the ones that it misses the first few times around. Once she gets challenged, it will work a lot better because then it's a single target that she can just follow up a Provoke with the challenge to the ones that didn't. See, the reason she's still casting Provoke is because that general still hasn't successfully had Provoke stick. So she's going to be sitting here casting it while, you know what I'm doing here? I'm spamming X in this fight, and I really shouldn't be because I want to be using blitz attacks. That was dumb. Because I'm talking and not thinking. So anyway, she's going to keep casting Provoke and not be guarding. Like, usually it takes less time than this, but she's still not able to get that Provoke to stick on the new general, the Reaver over there. There we go. She finally either got it to stick or realized that it's. Let me actually check something real quick. Yeah, no, it's not immune to it. That's the problem. If it were immune to it, she would have figured that out sooner and stopped trying to cast it. But. There we go, and now we're just down to the Reaver, which is the other enemy in this area that Assassination is in here for. So you can just load up the debuffs on him, and then finish him off. In case you're curious, there are 2 battles, as you're coming from the top, where we started. There are 2 battles on the left-hand path, the one that we came down, that give you a total of 1,578 CP. The right-hand path well, actually, it doesn't really matter. The right-hand path going either direction. You have the right-hand path as you're viewing it from the top, though. The opposite side of where we came down. Has 3 battles for a total of total CP available of 2,081, and then the middle path, if you go straight down the middle, it's 3,149 from 4 battles. This fight is actually, because of the strategies that I use, is actually the easiest fight in the area. Even though it's a bottom tier fight, you actually can set up an assassination, and your 2 saboteurs will rapidly dispel the only real threat in this battle, which is the Huntress. Without her quick and powerful attacks, the 2 destroyers are trivially easy. And in fact, now we can actually just switch to Ruthless to let Vanille be the only saboteur and focus on the offensive debuffs, and let Fang and Lightning just rip up everything else. So anyway, the total possible CP from fighting everything in the area, going from the top on one side and then up the opposite side, and then back down the middle, or vice versa, depending on which direction that you're coming from, top or bottom. The total available CP is 8,446, because you have to count the top and bottom of the middle path twice because of the crossovers. So in case you were curious, that's how much CP you get from each one of the run-throughs like I'm doing right now. And that's why it's very quick to finish leveling your Crystarium tier here. And I think this is one of the best places. I mean, it's definitely the best place in this chapter, but it's probably also one of the better places in the game, for given where you're at. I mean, obviously there are better grinding spots later in the story and after the storyline ends, but this is one of the best returns. There is one coming up in the next chapter that we're going to spend some time at that is even better returns for how quick the battle is, but well, it's, yeah, given the battle speed is a better grinding spot, but this one has a little bit more variety because the other one's only one battle. In fact, most of the other good grinding spots in the game are just like one battle that you just spam over and over again. This one we want to go back to Solidarity. This is the other battle that you could conceivably have some... No, not what I wanted. And I have actually changed my tactics on this since I wrote my guide, and in fact, because of this playthrough that I'm doing. I have discovered that instead of taking out the raiders, the raiders first, the guys that are attacking Lightning right now, instead of taking them out first, you're better off taking out the Dragoons while you're in Solidarity, because what happens is they are a lot faster for Lightning to take out as a commando. The other ones have this nasty habit of doing what they're doing right now and guarding, and that causes the damage dealt to go way down, as well as the fact that they have much higher HP to start with. But once you take out the Dragoons, we're going to see that I can go directly from that to Ruthless and have Fang and Lightning stagger the Raiders very quickly without having to deal with the only enemies in this battle that are capable of doing a lot of damage very quickly, usually simultaneously with the other ones. So we're going to switch to Ruthless now, and you can see how quickly these things stagger once you have this team going. And therefore, once they're staggered, even though their HP isn't going down a huge amount right now, although it's doing it a lot faster than if it was just Lightning, now they're just going to die out quickly. And they don't have nearly the threat capability that the Dragoons do for damage potential. partially because they keep doing this guard thing. And then once you're done with that, you can switch over to assassination and do things exactly the way you normally would to take down the Reaver. We might be a little... Oh, you know what? Assassination isn't going to do me any good because Fang has fog. So we'll just keep doing Ruthless. The only downside to that is that we don't get Slow and Curse on the Reaver, which is okay. It just means that I have to watch what I'm doing a little bit more, only because Lightning is close to being critical HP, and this could, in like one attack, do at least that much damage if I'm not paying attention. But now that it's staggered, it's going to be over. Just let Vanille re-inflict deep protect, and then we'll just switch to aggression and finish it. If we won't even need to at this point. We'll just finish it in this. There we go.
Hardly worth the effort.
So while I've been doing while I was doing the grinding, I was thinking about other series that I can run on this channel. So I came up with a couple that are going to be, I think, particularly interesting. One of them, and the first one that's going to start, which will actually start, if you're watching this the day that this uploads, it'll be a Friday, and then on the next day, Saturday, I will be uploading the first in the new series that I'm going to be doing, called, or vaguely, I haven't got the exact name yet, but it'll basically be a what if you don't do things my way type of thing. Switch back to Ruthless because we don't need solidarity for this encounter. It'll be basically what if you don't do things my way, and this is really the first opportunity that we will have had to see other choices for tactics and parties. It won't be quite as freeform as it will be in the future, because we still are stuck with Lightning as our lead character. Otherwise, I could do some really creative things with the parties, but so it won't be as interesting necessarily as it will be in the future. But I think you might get some extra insight out of it and enjoyment, just because you know your play style might be different from mine. You might hate saboteurs, and you know, as much as I think you're crazy, if that's the case, then you know there are other techniques that you could use, and I think you'll see during the series that it may not be as efficient as you think it is, or in my case, may not be as inefficient as you think it is. So I think you'll probably enjoy that. Or if you agree with my play style and you think it works pretty well, you may, you know, if you haven't tried other play styles, you might be curious to see what else would happen. Yeah, let's finish it this way. There we go. So I think that'll be an interesting series. And like I say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would highly recommend that you do so, because then you'll know it's not going to be something that I do every week. It'll be bonus weekend content, probably mostly on Saturdays unless my schedule changes. And then, so if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll be able to get the notifications when I do the bonus content. The other series that I will run as bonus content, and this will be much later before it starts because of the nature of the series, but I want to do another series basically looking at each character in from start to finish of the game, maybe not start, maybe a couple chapters in, of their optimal, what I feel is their optimal progression, including the situations that are, you know what I did again? I didn't change targets. Not that it matters too much for this encounter, but from basically start to finish of the game, once we have some options as to how you should develop their Crystarium tier for each section of the game, based around the party that's available and the enemies in the area and the weapons that are available to them. Which means after, it'll probably go up sometime after we finish the story of the game is when I'll start that series, because of the fact that it will also include like ultimate weapon and that kind of breakdown, and why I use particular, although I'm sure I'll talk about it as I'm doing the series, but it'll have more breakdown of the optimal progression for each individual character will have their own episode that I just break down the stats and the options and so on and so on. So the little tour that I do of the Crystarium every time we do a new tier, it will include each character rather than trying to just go through the Crystarium, and then it will also take into account the enemies in the area, which I already do. I just don't usually talk about it. It will also include like the weapons available and etc. So for those of you who are interested in that kind of thing, I think it'll be a fun series.
We can win.
And if you're not interested in that kind of thing, I just feel sorry for you because, you know, you're missing out. But then, you know, I'm a numbers guy. I have a degree in mathematics, and I just got my master's in economics, which is why I currently have the time to do this, because I am looking for a job, and you know, I like to call it a big boy job. I've been working pharmacy as a pharmacy technician for about 14 years now, and you know, it's not what I want to do the rest of my life. That's why I, you know, have business degrees and nothing to do with pharmacy. Alright, this is not supposed to be going this badly. Really? Really? Alright, we're gonna do something here. We're gonna play a little trick called Summon so that we can revive our entire party and go back to full health. A little trick about Summon, in case you didn't know it, that if you summon them when you have dead party members and, you know, low health, it's kind of like an emergency restore all. That has the added advantage of possibly doing a little bit of damage while you're at it. So anyway, I'm a numbers guy, and I'm a, you know, tactics guy. So
We do this together.
So I'm gonna enjoy doing both that series about optimal, you know, development, and I think a bunch of you will probably enjoy it as well. Or at least that's my goal. That's what I'm here for, right?
No time to waste.
Why is it not? Thank you. Again, anytime you're mounted on your Eidolon, your best bet is going to be alternating between the up arrow X attack and the left right arrow X attack. It's going to be the one that does the most damage and has the most likelihood to handle what you're doing and finish things off quickly. So now that I've done this, basically all we're going to have to worry about now is the Reaver, and as you'll see in a second, we're going to be back to full health when we do it.
Until next time.
Unfortunately, it doesn't keep any chain rage progression when you do that, but look, Fang and Vanille are both alive again, and we can now just focus on the Reaver. So yeah, little emergency break kind of thing, and the downside, of course, is that you can only really do it realistically once per combat because it costs 3 technique points to do it, and you only have 5 to start with. Theoretically, if the fight is long enough, you can actually get more technique points as the fight continues, but realistically, I wouldn't count on it. The nice thing is that does leave room for exactly one cast of Renew, which also has the capacity to heal and revive your characters, although it's not necessarily going to be full. In fact, if they're dead, it won't be the full, but so most of the time, casting a summon is remarkably inefficient, but there are certain times like that in emergencies where it can be very useful. And that's pretty much, unless it's a strategy that relies on using a particular summon, which we will have much later. We're going to use Vanille's summon for a couple of strategic purposes later. Once she gets it. What am I doing? Oh, changing my... No, wrong one. I'm a fight ahead of myself there. But most of the time, summons are not efficient. And in fact, if you use a summon in a general combat, you're likely to not get a 5-star rating because it's almost never going to be enough to beat the target time, just because of the length of the time that the summon takes. You can, if you wanted to, you could very easily summon and then dispel and immediately release the summon, so you don't have to go through the entire mechanics of it. But even then, it's still... It upsets the flow of battle enough that it makes the combat more inefficient to start with. And it resets chain gauges, which is the downside of that. If you're going to do it, you're better off doing it at the very beginning of combat, which is what we will do in a couple of battles. But
New strategy.
you know what I forgot to do there? I forgot to change to assassination. That's why that battle seemed like it was taking longer than it should have. I was off thinking about other things and not focusing on what I was doing. Can you tell that's a common theme with me? Because it kind of is. I play these games, you know, to relax and enjoy myself, and sometimes it clears my head, and sometimes I'm still off in another dimension.
Win if we stay focused.
Good news is after this battle, all we have to do is set up for the final boss fight of this chapter, and then we're going to get a whole bunch of story stuff going on. Alright, so now we extend the final bridge. Down to the bottom and get the final treasure sphere for an Ethersol. Which, if I thought I was gonna need it for, if I thought I was gonna need techniques in the boss fight, I could use that. And in fact, I probably might end up using it in my what if video, because I won't be using the party that I think is the most optimal. Speaking of which, unfortunately, the next battle makes it it's kind of a speed battle. So we actually want to have Saz in our party. We are going to use an Aegisol and a Fortisol, which means that we don't necessarily need Saz for haste because we will have it, and if all goes well, we won't need to cast it. But there's always the possibility that things won't go well. So we're better off doing it this way just to be safe. And we also want the Ravager roll that Saz has anyway. Which unfortunately at this point Fang just doesn't have access to. She's actually going to be a good backup Ravager late game and or late story and then post story, but for the moment, unfortunately, I don't have that option. All right, we'll set up in Smart Bomb. We need to finish off our Crystarium. Oops, if I press the right button. There it is. Alright. And then lastly, we need to change our equipment. The two that we currently had on Fang are going to just directly port to Saz. So we're going to do Roller's Wristband and Magician's Mark. Those stay the same, and you are getting the Tungsten Bangle. I need to sort my accessories. There we go. Should probably sort my weapons too, not that it really matters at this point, but just for simplicity. Alright. Then we are set to go. Alright, sit back and relax and enjoy the story that's about to go on. Oh, crud. Alright. Hold that thought. Stop. 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 Because I forgot something important. Hold that thought. I forgot something very important. Fortisol and Aegisol. Because without that, this battle is not fun. Because you have to spend so much setup time getting Saz to buff everybody. And even then you only have access to half the buffs.
Been looking for you, Nabat.
Your Eminence, please escape. I'll cover your retreat.
Why don't you leave, Jill? Or rather, take your leave. Humans have no business here.
What? Your Eminence!
What? Magic? Monster! People are not yours to use!
What else does one do with tools?
No!
Cocoon is a factory built by Falsi. A factory for the mass production of human thralls.
Not anymore, it's not.
What can mere men do? Without our help, death is all of which you're capable. You saw the fools, a mindless mob drunk on fear of a viewless sea.
If they only knew a lassie was the one filling their glasses.
Let's see. You mean me? Oh, child, perish the thought. I am more than that! I am Falsi.
My name is Spartandulus, voice of the Sanctum and Lord Sovereign of the Cocoon Fal'Cie. Your kind feared the darkness, so we gave you light. You begged us for the purge, and did it not come to pass? Now you spurn our counsel? You must learn your place!
Alright, so we have a real enemy for this game now. First things first, throw a liver scope. The reason that we do that is because each of these little side pieces to Bartandulus has its own elemental weakness. So we want to know what it is right away so that we can start targeting it. So Vanille's going to just be debuffing for the first part of this battle, and Lightning and Saz are going to focus on taking down each piece individually. And for the first part of this battle, it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of watch your health because there's the possibility that you're going to have to heal. And by possibility, I mean you're probably going to have to heal after the second piece dies. Each time a piece dies, Bartandulus casts some buffs on at least one of the other pieces, typically increasing the magic as he goes along. And particularly after the second piece, and it doesn't matter what order you do it in, but after the second piece falls, his magical casting, which is basically all he does, he doesn't have any physical attacks at this point, then all of his abilities become stronger. And that's about the point that you're going to want to switch over temporarily to Perpetual Magic. Except they have their own being targeted, so that's not going to be good, but it doesn't really matter. This way, Saz keeps attacking, and Lightning and Vanille just heal things up very quickly. And then we just switch right back to Smart Bomb to focus on not the main head. Thank you. Yeah, that was the mistake that I made, was not targeting the next thing before I switched paradigms. But we want to take out the other two pieces for the real part of this battle to begin. By the way, if you didn't cast all of your, use the Fortisol and Aegisol, and you'll see this in the video tomorrow, because I will do this fight without the Fortisol and Aegisol. If you don't know the strategy coming in, and you also, or you don't use the Fortisol and Aegisol, even if you do know the strategy going in, this becomes much more nasty because all of those parts are constantly bombarding you with attacks. And you basically have to have both Saz and Hope in there just to survive, and to have any hope of doing anything useful. Which means that, unfortunately, Lightning immediately becomes your primary medic for the first part of the fight. Also, not a good thing, because she doesn't have any AoE heals. She doesn't have Cura yet. Now you're going to want to switch to, again, back to Smart Bomb to let... the reason that I switched over to Perpetual Magic right after I finished the last piece is because he opens up with that Thanatosian Smile move that, he shot that giant cannon at us out of his face, which is amusing, but whatever. And so you want to be healed up before he does that attack, before he actually, or as he's doing that attack, because you're probably not that bad off at that point to worry about it. But that way it gives you the chance to focus on him in Smart Bomb long enough to stagger him, and then get those 3 debuffs to stick, and then switch over to Aggression to do as much damage as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, he's going to be using an attack here in just a moment. Not this one. I'm not too worried about this at the current moment. He's going to use another attack, this one, which is unfortunately going to break the chain gauge, and also start building up. What you want to do here is do as much damage to him as quickly as possible while he is charging this. Because every time that he does that little thing, the amount of damage that he inflicts by that attack decreases. So then you're going to want to switch right back over to Perpetual Magic, let Saz, do some nuking, while Lightning and Vanille heal you up from the likely Thanatosian Smile Destrudo combo, like we did here. And then you just switch right back to either Aggression or Smart Bomb. Actually, I shouldn't be in Smart Bomb, come to think about it. But Devastation, then that was there for. Oh, no, that's actually what you're supposed to be using in place of that. I actually didn't. I don't know why I did that. I forgot that I put that paradigm in there. To be honest, I'm so used to switching, just leaving her in Smart Bomb once it's staggered to finish. What you really should do is switch over to... Yeah! No? Okay, I didn't die. I am amazed. Have a... Booyah! Lightning had like 14 health. My reaction speed was a little bit slower than I would have liked there. What you really want to do once he's staggered is drop into Devastation, the bottom paradigm that we actually never instead of staying in Smart Bomb, so that Lightning and Saz can immediately be racking up the damage.
Ease is not the issue. You have not fought to win. You should know quite well already the sure way of dispatching our kind. Ragnarok.
What's Ragnarok? Ah! Oh! Oh!
Pitiful the sea. You've forgotten your focus. Ragnarok is the beast one of you must become in order to lay waste to Cocoon. You have had the dream. One among you will become that monstrosity. Defeat Orphan and destroy Cocoon.
Orphan?
The font of Eden's power. Orphan fuels Eden with strength, and Eden in turn sustains you and the rest of our kind. Destroy Orphan, and you'll release a force such as this world has never seen. Cocoon will be torn asunder.
So if I did that, destroyed Orphan,
Your focus will be fulfilled.
so what? Who says it has to be?
Sarah asked us to save Cocoon before she turned to Crystal. Save it! And that's what we're gonna do. Sarah was trying to tell us how to complete our focus, and we have...
Allow me to help you see the truth of things. The moment you arrived, your friend wept crystal tears. This was because her focus required that you be brought together. That girl did nothing but assemble the tools for Cocoon's destruction. Did it never occur to you? Or did you simply refuse to countenance the thought? If you will not face the truth, then face the peril of your plight. Run, let's see. See how stark reality is.
Come on!
This is bad. The yoke's jammed! Knew it was a trap!
Something's coming!
Not so fast, Lassie. Hang on! Huh? The hell kind of ship is this? Fighting on its own? Clever, aren't you?
Can we do something?
Got me? I give up! The shield!
Sads, look out!
Game over. That would be anticlimactic. You imagine they get all the way to this point, they find out like the giant plot, and then they just crash into a building. Welcome to Chapter 10.
Where are we? Looks like a piece of pulse.
Pulse? What, you mean like the Bodum vestige? Something like that. It's close to Eden.
Yeah, well, what I don't understand is after the purge and all that Lassie paranoia, why keep a chunk of pulse under the floorboards?
Is this what the Primarch wanted us to see?
A place for Lassie to accept their fate.
Do you really think our focus is what Daisley said it is?
You mean become Ragnarok?
Destroy the Foul Sea Eden and shatter Cocoon. That's what the vision's telling us, more or less. So, we're back to square one. Out of luck.
Mr. Hero! Cocoon calling Snow!
It's almost like Daisley wants it to come true.
Seems that way. He sure didn't mind explaining it. Here's your focus on the silver platter.
But that doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Why would a Cocoon Fal'Cie want to destroy Cocoon?
Maybe it's a Foul Sea thing. You know what I mean? Some grand design we just don't understand.
Hey, Snow, nothing from you?
So, this way?
Alright, so I'm not going to discuss the events of what's happened yet. I'm going to save that for the beginning of the next episode. So this is going to be the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button and share it with your friends. And again, I say make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're, like I say, if you're watching this the day that it comes up, keep a lookout tomorrow, and you will get a notification about the first part of the "What If You Don't Do It My Way" series. And if you're not watching it, then that's already up, and you should go watch that too. Because I think you'll find it interesting, especially if you if you haven't spent as much time with this game as I have, because it'll have a lot of other techniques. Some of them may or may not be successful, and some of them will probably be successful, but you'll see how much more annoying it might have been if we hadn't done it the way that I tend to do it. So like I say, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can know when I put up pieces of that series and other weekend content. Again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a great day.